It is a lot more than what I expected. No? It's a very good news that at least you have heard of these standards. As a company, we are a third-party certification body. We are accredited for conducting third-party audits and issue company certification from Jazans in Australia. We are also known for issuing people certification for lead auditor training, which is accredited by Exemplar Global in USA. So we have two licenses, one from Australia, other one from USA. We have operations in around 30 countries, and the owner is Mr. Anthony Harrywild, who lives in Sydney. We have done more than 1,000 ISMS audits, and a few of them, in fact, I did one day before yesterday for 27032. So we included cybersecurity process audits. You can always go to our website. Let's focus on the subject today. So I can put this. I have been in ISO field since 90, but before that I was in quality. In 1977 I started, and I used to work for the Bureau of Indian Standards as an assistant director trainee. Then 1986 I jumped into IT. Then right from day one I was in the Bank of India. Then from day one I have been in information security, because bankers are a little paranoid about security. So that's my background. About 35 years in quality, then almost 25 years in information security. Okay. That's the one. Let's take lessons from a story. Always stories help us understand the subject. Okay. This is an actual conversation. Way back I used to work for the Bureau of, BSI, British Standard Institution. 70s I was in BIS, and then 2000 I was in BSI, which is the British one in India. One of the banks got certified somewhere in Europe, and then they arranged a big function where even BSI gets some mileage out of that. And there was many banks there. So after the ceremony was over, he got the award and the certificate from that, then came down for a dinner. Then so one of the bankers was casually joking, okay, you are very happy that you are ISMS certified now? Just wait. Tomorrow somebody will hack into your network, and then you will understand now all these things. So then the reply was that ISMS does not prevent attacks. So it is what the banker said. Okay, of course we will attack, or somebody will attack us. More so when we say that we are ISMS certified, our risk will increase. Somebody will say, what is this ISMS? Let me go and break it, he will say. That is true that there will be attacks. At least we have an incident response process because of the ISMS. We'll bring back our service within a few minutes, or maybe a few hours also. At the same time, you don't have any ISMS, and you will not be able to take any action. Okay. So that is the lesson, that any process, ISO process or other process, brings some sort of a method to come back to normal as early as possible. Having only some tools or so is okay, but it's not enough. Okay. So ISO standards cannot prevent attacks, but they give a methodology to bring back service as soon as possible. That is the benefit. One benefit of a ISO standard. The other benefit is when they have a process, in addition to the tools, it ensures that company service will not depend on a single person or a specific group of people. Okay. So whoever is there, there will be some sort of a procedure, a checklist, and there will be training program, awareness training, then technical training, there will be job rotation. So all these things as a part of ISO will help in making a company, process oriented, so that the customer gets service, continues to get the same level of service, whoever is there. That is the benefit of implementing an ISO standard. Let's come to this. Any question you have, you can always post it in that. I'll answer it at the end. We are familiar with this ISO 27001, which is for information security. Now, as you know, information security does not cover all the aspects of cyber security. You would have attended the other sessions also. It used to be very simple in 1980s when we started. In 1995 when they started BS709, and it was also very simple. Now technology has become complex, business has become complex. Cybersecurity is a lot more than just information security. You can say information security, ISMS could be one part of a cybersecurity. The other aspects will be something like IoT devices, okay, which connect maybe At home, they connect your fridge and other things. Sometimes pacemaker is there for a person. Or in companies which are supplying electricity, they have these industrial control systems. It could be energy systems. It could be even other industry systems. So there are several guidelines. Probably this is the largest family of standards. It started with ISMS. And they have brought in so many other standards into this family, probably over 50 of them. I've just focused on 3 of them, which are actually using the term cybersecurity. Okay. One of them is 27032, which is guideline for cybersecurity. The other one, the year should be 2018. Sorry about the typo. 103 is guideline for using ISO for cybersecurity. This is the one which was released in 2018. Okay. So then there is one called 27019, which is guideline for energy utility industry. There are specific guidelines. The meaning of a guideline and then a requirement you should understand. When you say 27001, that's not a guideline, that is a requirement. Requirement is mandatory. If there are 114 controls, you must consider all the 114. If you don't want, then you have to give justification why you don't want a particular control. If you want a control, again, you have to give justification. That's a requirement standard. When it comes to a guideline standard, the rules are different. There are, say, 100 controls. You can select only about 10 of them and can still implement them in the guideline. There is no compulsion to implement all the 100. You can implement only 50 of them. Or you can go for more than 100 from other sources. You can borrow from other sources. Okay. So that's the difference between a requirement standard like 27001 and a guideline standard. So in a way, it is easy to implement. If somebody asks you, can you implement 27032, you can select just one control out of the, I think there are about 25 of them, 25 controls. You can implement just 1 or 2 of them and then say, okay, we have tried. We implemented selected guidelines of cybersecurity. That's the advantage of implementing a guideline. So these are the 3 topics which are actually related to the term cybersecurity. So, for example, there is a definition of cybersecurity in 27032, which is something beyond just information security. It goes anything that connects to the internet. It could be nowadays even industrial control systems have IP addresses. Okay, and if you look at the industry, there's a lot of discussion about career guidance. In the previous one, Mr. Ilyas was there, and Dinesh Pareja was speaking, and everywhere said, what is our chance of getting a job, okay, in cybersecurity? So there are cybersecurity as defined in the standard is something beyond just information security. It's anything that connects to the internet. And there are industrial control systems. There are general medical devices made for the public. And then it's a vast subject, cybersecurity. There are always job opportunities. So you have to explore. You can start with a small area, like a system administration or nowadays cloud administration. Then move on to other subjects. You have to explore. Okay. So if you look at these guidelines, they are not that complicated or so. In 27032, they talk about again network security, then application security. Okay. And in 27010 also they talk about the same thing. In 27019 they talk about the industrial control systems. The specific to that, instead of 114, you will find that only some 20 to 25 are selected, and compare it with the 114 controls of 27001. They follow the same sequence of controls as in Annexure A of 27001, like Annexure A.5 to A.18. The same sequence they follow, all these guidelines, but they do not select all the 114. They select a few of them and then say what should be done in addition to what is given in 27001 for improving cybersecurity in that area. That's how they are written. If you look at something more, where to start? So if you just, for the moment, if you just don't insist on the word cyber, if you look at other things which are ISMS related, but a vast subject where you can find some career opportunity, I would say if you are a network engineer, you start with 27033. There are some 6 parts in that. one of the parts of the standard. The standards also can have different parts, and then one of the parts says how to design a firewall. I tried this. One of the network specialists said, this guideline, is it possible to implement? So he read it. He said, we are already doing that. Okay. So sometimes you find that if you read a standard, it is not something out of the way, it's not different from what you're actually doing. Only thing is, it will give you a satisfaction that you are actually adopting an ISO standard without knowing that it is an ISO requirement. You are just using your common sense or maybe some company manual or a vendor manual. That is one way of exploring these ISO guideline standards. Similar, it could be a firewall. Again, I tested with a few network engineers. They also said it's quite possible to implement. So the benefit is you can always say that you have implemented something at the international level. The word ISO actually is something that you should understand. It is written by International Organization for Standards in Geneva. It is a part of the United Nations. So why did they not call it as IOS, International Organization Standard? They call it ISO. It's not ISO, it is called ISO, means equal, like isobar, isotherm. That means for all the countries in the world, they are equal when they implement ISO standard. That's the advantage of that. And then it is not that tough also to implement an ISO standard. Probably it is very tough to implement a vendor standard, which is very specific. Okay? It's a lot more easier than that to implement a national standard. And then it's much simpler than that to implement an ISO standard. Okay, that is one. Probably many people do not know the secret. The ISO standard is the easiest one to start for any one of you. So it depends on where you have. Let's look at one standard. I was auditing a company just about 4 days ago. 27011 guidelines for telecommunication. There it says for awareness about security. So in addition to awareness about IT security, which is there in ISMS, they should also know something about the telecom towers, and then other security of telecom towers, and the software that connect the towers, and then the data that flows from one tower to tower. So there will be small additional guidelines. If we talk about 27017, this talks about additional guidelines for cloud service providers like Amazon, AWS is there, then we have this Microsoft Azure, or we have Google Cloud Platform, or Oracle Cloud Platform, or IBM Cloud Platform. They're all service providers. When they want to provide service to customers, they say, oh, okay, we have an ISMS in place. Say, so what, even we have, they will say, customers. So they want to showcase something which is beyond just ISMS. For that, there is a guideline available here called 27017. Not that heavy, around 30 to 35 controls out of the 114 are expanded towards cloud services. For example, they say something about keeping data secure and then erasure of data. Okay, when there's the same hard disk is shared by many customers, as you know, in a cloud environment. Then when you want to erase data, then what happens if another customer uses the subscribe to that and he finds the data in the same place? So there are guidelines on how to really erase data from that portion of the hard disk, so that another customer who occupies the same space will not be able to see the data. So something specific to guideline. There is one more, something about the USB devices that we use for just taking data, just downloading data. So if you do that, then there are certain rules on what you can do and what you cannot do. Okay? That is there in 27018. 18 talks about something. So normally when you have a company, you have a register kept at the reception where there is a security guard and says, so whoever goes in, you must have a visitor in a register, you must enter your name, time in, time out. Similarly, they also have a register for items taken out. Normally they focus on a PC or a laptop being taken out. But this standard goes further, says even if it is a flash drive or a USB device, some people call it as a dongle or USB drive or pen drive, whatever you call it, the storage device which is portable, carry in your pocket. If that is to be taken out, that you have to write, and you have to write who actually authorized sending it, who is the receiver at the other end. Just take over the company is not enough. Then what is the content of it? Does it contain any privacy data? So it goes to a little more detail than just ISMS. It is not that really difficult if you look at it. Once you understand the basics of ISMS, for all these standards you must understand ISMS, then it will be easy to implement cybersecurity. ISMS is not the best standard as you would have observed, but it is the best starting point even today for anyone, whether you want to be in cybersecurity or any other general process. ISMS is not the best, but the best starting point. ISO 27001 ISMS is the best starting point as a career for anyone. There are implementation courses, there are lead auditor courses, there are internal auditor courses. Okay, then you can attend one of them and understand. Then, unfortunately, there is no training available for any of these courses. The other one is each standard costs about, in our rupee terms, probably 10 to 12,000 rupees, or international terms, it's about $150 for each standard. Only a company can afford to do that. Of course, as you know, there are all groups in Telegram and then other things where they say clearly that we're going to share the document, so they post it, in a file folder. Okay. So there are so you have to find out some source. So there is also a website called ISO 27001 security.com. I repeat, it is ISO 27001 security.com. It is managed by a very good professional who is a member of the committee of ISMS committee from Australia and New Zealand. So Gary Hinson. So you can search for Gary Hinson, or you can search for this ISO 27001 security.com. From there only I got all the latest, because the year version, you have to get it from someone, from some website where it's authentic. So this guy doesn't make money, he does it with a lot of, good intentions, and he's sharing his information. You can also contribute if you know something about ISMS or other things. After this seminar, you can also write to them that I want to say something about this, I want to read. So you can just again brief introduction to all the standards on the website. Ultimately, you have to buy if you want to read it contently. So let's come to this 27033, which I said is a good starting point for those of you who are a hardcore system administrator or a network engineer. You just try this, try to get some guidelines on how to implement a firewall according to ISO standards. As I said, my experience has been that most of the engineers laugh at it. What is there? Anyone can do that, they'll say. So it's not that difficult. I don't say that it is silly. Okay, there are things there. First glance, it looks very easy, any standard. Once you go deeper and deeper and then start now understanding each word, each sentence, comma, full stop, then you understand the benefits of an ISO standard. It is a good place to start. Those of you who are only in software, like there are quite a few people who say I'm a BCA in the previous session, there's some question. If you are a BCA, the better study ISO 27034. There they call it as ONF and ANF. There's the organization normal framework and then the application normal framework. So at the organizational, what are the processes? Like you have CMMI for development, other initiatives are there. That is almost satisfying the requirements of 27034. But then for each application, you need to have some framework. So at the organizational level and application level, of course, the jargon is always there, ONF, ANF, the new jargon, you're in IT, you have to get used to that. I'm in my 70th year, even I'm trying to learn, new jargon every day. Started my IT career in 86, okay, with a floppy-based system. 8-inch floppies in those days. Probably you would not have even heard of that. Okay. But even now I'm learning. Okay. Even after 35 years in IT, someone asked me in 86, how much of IT you know? I would say 90%. I was very confident. It was simple to understand. After 35 years, if someone asked me today, how much you understand, it is the reverse. I understand 5% of what is going on. 95% is still unknown to us. Things have changed a lot. Still, if you have a background in application development, the better place to start is 27034. Okay. You can always contact me. At the last, we have posted the slides in the handout area. You can always go to the slide. The last page, I've given my email ID. please write to me, so that I'll try to find out some extract. Up to 10% we can extract and send you anyone. Up to 10% there's no copyright violation. And then we can always exchange notes and see. So if you have into a software developer or BCA, this is where you can start. And how to get a job? Always people ask, you must create a job for yourself. I would say from this, you must get some benefit of attending session. What did you go through the standard? And then in your CV, you can always write, I have understood a little bit of ISMS, of course, 27001, 2013. I also have read something about 27034, and these are the things which you can implement immediately in your company. If you write that, probably there is a chance, okay, there is a guy, at least he's not a normal, he's not the ordinary application guy, he's somebody who knows ISO standards, and somebody wants to improve our ISMS in this area, and he is very honest that he doesn't talk about firewall, VPN, I think he only talks about application security. So if you are very honest about yourself, then say focus on, even the previous session, the speaker was saying, focus on your core area. Don't forget that. Keep continuing in your core area, then learn cybersecurity. The word cyber has been misused by many people. Just to showcase anything, it is just a new term for a global subject rather than a very narrow subject like information security. And you have to strengthen your skill set in your core areas of aptitude. Then also learn from some of these standards. There are more than 50. I'm just giving a sample of them. And then you can say that in your CV that I have understood, I want to implement this. Can you give me a chance? I want to work for you. That is one way of maybe trying to get a job. Next one is about 27035. All of us face incidents. We face things and somebody managed it well, somebody didn't manage it so well. Is it according to a particular international standard, what they're doing? You can always cross-check. You have resolved some incident. Somebody says, have the team done a good job? A wonderful team. Is it extremely good or average? Normal answer will be, I don't know. Instead of saying I don't know, you can say, let me check. Okay, go to 27035 and you look at guidelines for incident management. There are also NIST guidelines of 6 phases of incident management. This somewhat similar one. It doesn't exactly copy that model, but you can always say, yes, we are following NIST standard guideline, or we can say we are ISO guideline. So I'm familiar with, in your CV when you write, I'm familiar with incident management according to 27035 or NIST guideline. Say that, then it makes sense to the reader. When you are competing with almost maybe about at least 10,000 applicants, for each job, okay, that's what happens when you compete. You can always stand unique, saying that you know something about it. So that is one thing. Other one is, if you are already working for a company or if you are managing ISMS in place, normally that is the next slide I'm going to explain. Normally, ISMS initially there is a lot of interest. People do it a lot of interest. After 1 year, people slow down, they relax, and then there's no improvement. We go and ask every year. We go and ask auditor, what is the continual improvement item? What is it that have improved in the last 1 year? Sometimes they say something, sometimes they give a blank look. Instead of saying that, you can always say, in the last 1 year, we implemented 27035. Next year, we're going to implement 27033. Maybe after that, 27037, which is about e-forensics. Now we know how to collect evidence according to an international standard. So there are ways of improving things, improving your CV. You keep saying, Swakarya and Swamikarya, both should be served when you put an effort. So your employer must benefit from you by using additional guidelines and improving the ISMS. And your CV also must improve, saying that you have learned something more than just ISMS. You are better than the others. That's one thing. E-forensics says how to collect evidence, as we already know, that we should not use the original. We should always make a copy, disk mirroring, copy, then use the copy to do the forensics one there. The 27039 is about intrusion prevention. In the previous session, in the earlier, they were saying, the SolarWinds effect that happened, they actually injected a malware in the update that the SolarWinds, and most of us we trust the vendor for his updates, and we blindly apply all the updates. In that, through the update, the intruders came in, and they were staying in the network for many months, and the people did not know. This guideline doesn't give you solution to that. This guideline says how to have a process of intrusion prevention. It gives, is it really good? Is it up to date? No, it can never be. Standards can never be up to date. What you should understand is standards give you some ideas, the starting point. Standards, any standard, or either the requirement standard or the guideline, should not be your ultimate guide. It should be a best starting point for you. At least it will give you ideas on what all points I need to check. And then you can go to the net and search, and then you can go to the vendor manual, you can go to other forums like LinkedIn groups or your Telegram groups, other things, and then check. Okay, then that's all. So these are the ones which broadly, there are many more. If you can go to that website at 27001security.com. Now, that's about the one. Now the next item is, what do we do? Can we straight away go and implement a guideline? It will be very difficult. If you ask any company where you are employed, manager asks you, what are you doing? I'm reading 27034, I'm an application developer, or I'm doing 2033. It says, what is the benefit? Very difficult to answer such a question. First of all, companies will allow you to do some work when the company is likely to get a certificate. So always first step is implement an ISMS based on 27001. I repeat, it is not the best standard, it is the best starting point. Then at least company also will get benefit, you will also understand. Only if you understand 27001, then you can understand the other guideline standard. Then while preparing for the surveillance audit, sorry about that grammar mistake there. Okay. We can implement selected control from one guideline standard, let's say 27033 part 5, how to secure communications using a VPN. Most of you, the network would have done a VPN. Okay. It does not cover the cloud way of doing a VPN. It covers the traditional way of doing a VPN. Okay. So there you can see, you can check whatever you have done. Is it according to that? And you'll be surprised to see that you would have already, innocently you would have implemented 27033 for many aspects of VPN. So then it gives you some confidence, okay, ISO standard, this is what I know. After all, it's not rocket science, you will learn that. Then you don't take up all the 10 standards together. That will be a disaster for you, then it will be a disaster for the company also. It's not possible to implement, although it looks simple, the implementation takes time. In next surveillance audit, auditors come after 1 year. So in the next surveillance audit, we'll say, what is the improvement? Okay, last year I did 27033, this year I'm doing maybe 27034 or maybe 27039 I'm doing. And then like that, we can keep on doing it. Plan for about 5 to 10 years. Okay, even if you change your job, you can keep this thing. Or if you are an employer, if you are a manager, you are a CISO, you can also plan something like this so that you will have a thing. Probably ISMS is the only family of standard which has such a vast set of resources to improve things continuously. As I said, Swakariam, Swamikariam, both will be served. No, even the industry will benefit if you use all the guidelines standard. So that's all I have to say. We'll have a question and answer session now. Thank you for listening to me. What you have to understand is product alone is not enough. If you simply say I have the latest product, you have the most advanced product, we paid maybe be at about 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs for the product, it's not enough. Of course, you can't expect ISO standard to keep on tracking your antivirus and other. It cannot do the job of an intrusion prevention system or intrusion detection system or a anti-malware. It cannot do process. At the same time, product alone is not enough. Still, as we say, it is a cyber war going on worldwide. It is not the machine gun or the the equipment that matters. It is the man behind the equipment that matters. Okay, so process alone is not enough, and product alone is not enough. What we need is a combination of IT products, IT security products, and of course ISO processes. Okay, so that is a good combination. So this is my contact email ID. You can always write to me here. Those of you who want more information. Now I will switch off the slide and come to the question answer this thing. So let's see if you have any question answer. Let's see what questions you have. Okay. Is there any certification for ISO auditor implementer? Certainly, there are certifications mainly for ISO 27001, 2013, which is the requirement standard. Okay. That's the one. There is a 5-day course for a lead auditor. Implementer is either 3 days or 5 days. Okay. Many companies do that. How to become a registered one? A registered implementer is easy. You just do the implementation course and then work for a consultant or work for a company where they implement. To become a registered auditor, it takes time. You need to work like the chartered accountants do a 3-year articleship. Here you have to do 35 days. Once you complete the lead auditor training, you become eligible to be a provisional auditor. After that, you stay as a provisional auditor for about 15 days, at least 5 days as an observer first, then 10 to 15 days you do as a team member. After 20 days of audit, you become a registered auditor. Then you become a candidate lead auditor. Then you have to do another 15 days being a lead auditor and lead a team for another 3 audits or 15 days, which was earlier. So total of 35 days of articleship you have to do under different auditors, under interest. Then you become registered auditor. The difficulty is getting those days. Most of the third-party certification bodies like us, we don't have so many audits going on. We already have a panel of auditors who need that. I have, of course, helped about 100 people in getting registered as an auditor. If you attend our CPG training, there is a chance that sometimes we do take you for that. Last week, this morning actually at 5:30 in our time, Bangalore time, I was actually doing some coaching for 2 people who attend the training. They're all in Australia. I did some web-based training for them, induction training. So we do give a chance to that, but it takes time. You have to have patience. By attending the course in 5 days, you don't become a lead auditor. That's a wrong selling of the course. After attending the course, you have to do a 35 days of audit with a third-party auditor. Sometimes we allow internal audits to be added to that. So you have to practice 35 days of audit, either internal audit or external audit, preferably a mix of both. Then you can become a registered auditor. Will all these standards include in certification ISO lead auditor? No. Lead auditor has only 2 standards. One of them is ISO 27013. There's the other auditing standard called 19011 2018. Only 2 standards are covered in our lead auditor certificate. As I said, somebody started, surprisingly, Cybersecurity lead auditor. They combined 27032 with 19011. It's an online course, quite expensive. Okay. I would not, I would not agree with that type, because you can have a lead auditor course only for a requirement standard, but the market is there. You can get probably a cybersecurity lead auditor certificate from a Canadian-based company. You can search on the net. I think it's called a PECB. Okay. We don't do that. We don't do that 27031. We do only 27001. I am now assisting clients for ISO and SOC 2. Okay, how can you start advising on 27003 as well? As I said, you take 27032 doesn't cover all the 114. It covers probably about 18 to 20. You take one of them and try to study that. It's not really rocket science. Okay, I'm not a techie. I'm a banker. Okay, even I'm able to understand most of it. Of course, I had a person who was masters in cybersecurity from Australia. So they helped me. And tomorrow I'm doing an audit where we have a PhD in cybersecurity and cloud security. So we also learn from them. Even as a lead auditor, I'm the team leader, he is my team member, but I observe how we ask questions. I learn from a team member. You must not have the ego of somebody, the team, I'm a boss, and you should not have the ego. Learn from everybody. SOC 2 is not directly related to ISO, but it does help. Okay. What are the steps to build a career as security auditor? First thing is connections. Improve your LinkedIn connections. Okay. The field quality or security is always through personal contact. It's a very sensitive area. Whatever CV you have, whatever LinkedIn profile, it is personal contact that help you develop personal contacts so that you can do that. Can you recommend can we take 270 certificate alone? No, nobody is offering that. Nobody is offering that, unfortunately. Only 27032, somebody is offering that. I would have been very happy if someone had started 27034, which is the application Because nowadays, even infrastructure is application based. No, you find many people with BCA background, they are deploying VPN and deploying infrastructure servers. Okay, does the certification really matter from an organization point of view? Not in the beginning. Bringing it matters is 27001. For continual improvement, definitely all the standards matter a lot. In fact, we have not explored how good it is. There are very good standards, and then they are very good for continual improvement. Definitely all the standards are useful for a company. And also I said, no, even you improving your CV also, it is good. CISA by Isaka versus ISO auditor. I'm the first CISA from India, so I have some authority to say so. CISA is IT audit. For example, you can run a tool to find out how many licenses are genuine, or you can do VAPT. CISA will do VAPT, but ISO auditor will not do VAPT. ISO is a process audit. CISA is a technical audit. So that is the main difference between a CISA audit and ISO auditor comparison. Okay. Any other question you have? We still have, I think, 6 minutes. Anything? So we will have a poll. Can you have the poll, please? Last 2 questions are there. Hello, Sachin. Can you have the poll, please? PCI DSS is good. It is suited to our, it almost, let's say, 70% of PCI DSS is our ISMS only. The difference is, ISMS, you can pick and choose controls out of 114. PCI DSS, you don't have that luxury. It says, this is the control you must implement. For example, for auditor also, it says you must select 3 servers. In ISMS, we have freedom. We can select 5 or 10 or 1. But PCI doesn't give that flexibility. It is more of a compliance standard. NATS frameworks are also good. There are maturity models there. There are 2 things. One is called FISMA for financial institutions. Other one is called FedRAMP for the US federal government, those who are federal government institutions. And FISMA is for the banking institutions, the financial institutions. Both are based on NATS frameworks. Our the cloud security is a NIST. Probably you meant NIST framework. Okay. Demand of ISO in India, it is booming. ISO in India is always booming. We are one of the leaders. In fact, China is very much ahead. There are 1 million companies certified. India is probably around 1 lakh or so. Not so big, but still, definitely it is there. Much better than what I saw when I started the career in ISO in it was in 1990 when I first did my ISO training. At that time, we were hardly about 1,000 companies. Slowly it increased to 10,000. Now it must be around 1 lakh companies who are ISO certified. It's always booming because we want to do business worldwide, and then companies outside, they say, do have an ISO certificate. The benefit of ISO is somebody across the globe who doesn't know you, doesn't know your company, can confidently say, this is a company, at least we can start negotiation. So you clear the first interview. At least you get selected for an interview, no? You clear the first thing. At least ISO, ISMS certification helps you in getting some recognition of at least going for a discussion stage. Okay. What are the best auditor certification for an individual? Mostly internal auditor is the best starting point. If you have money, you can do the lead auditor course. Okay, I would say that. Otherwise, you have certified internal auditor from Institute of Internal Auditors, certified information system auditor, that is from ISACA. It's a very good one. You also have SANS courses for auditing. Okay, so particularly there are incident handling courses, then how to run a tool. SANS courses are expensive. Lead auditor courses will be cheap in the range of about 20,000-25,000. SANS courses will be more than 1 lakh per you. There are a lot of vendors. If you talk about issuing ISO certification, so does the vendor matter? Definitely it matters. In a way, it's like any other industry. No, it is a dirty industry. No, you can get certificate without going through an audit also. There are scrupulous fellows who will spoil the market. They're all there, but genuine companies are also there. You must understand there are 2 levels of checking. If we do an audit, I'm fetching an audit in April. There is an accreditation body above us. We are certification body. There is an accreditation body above us. Then there is a regional accreditation council who go and audit the accreditation bodies. The regional accreditation councils are audited by IAF, which is the apex body. And IAF is audited by ILA, which is another apex body. There are multiple levels of cross-checking, monitoring. That's why ISO certifications have a value. A vendor does matter. You check, is it under IAF, International Accreditation Forum. The website is iaf.nu. You can get a lot of information on that free. I think we have started the poll. Can you please answer the poll? There are 2 questions.
Sudarshan sir, just for your information, we added on the polls.
Yeah, polls, yeah. Thank you. Can you please answer the polls?
Sir, you are sharing the PPT or something?
No.
I can see the screen only.
Okay. You want me to share the PPT again?
Not like if you are not sharing the screen, we can stop sharing then.
Okay. I'm not sharing the screen as such. I just want to see the poll. Okay. I just want to share my screen for my ID.
Okay. Sure.
This one?
Yes.
I'm to see the poll result. That's why I click that. Jaisal, very good. 100%. They plan to implement additional guidelines. I'm surprised.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your active participation. What about the first poll? Where are the results? First poll, what is the result? In your organization, is there an ISMS in place? Already in place. 29% certified, 21% yes, but not certified. Okay, that's also good. All of you want to implement additional guidelines, and that's very good news for me. I'm really surprised. No? Thank you for that, and please keep in touch with me. Okay. Someone asked me, what is your profession? I said ISMS. Then another friend corrected me. No, it's not his profession, it is a religion, he said. So maybe I've been in this field for almost 30 years. I've coached more than 5,000 people, and then I'm passionate about the subject. And anyone you want, irrespective, one lesson is you must try to learn from your youngsters. You must try to learn from your juniors. Only then all of us will succeed. Okay, there's nobody who is an expert. I said I know only 5% of what's going on. Okay, still there is a place. It is possible to improve security. It's possible to improve cybersecurity, understand cybersecurity using ISO standard, which is the best starting point. Okay, and understand the limitations and see the benefits, understand the benefits, and then go ahead. 100% is a really very good number for me. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other question you have? We still have, I think we have crossed by 2 minutes. Jaisal, it's okay. Any other question you have?
That's fine, sir. That's fine.
So how much in India? Okay, 27,001 costs only 600 rupees. If you give a local Indian address, it is available from Bureau of Indian Standard, where I worked earlier, about 40 years ago. You go to the website of Bureau of Indian Standard. Online, you can purchase for just about 600 rupees. Okay, it is 27,001. If it is 27,002, probably you can do that. But it 3, 4, 5 onwards, they have not published. There is no Indian version edition available. So that costs about 10 to 12,000 rupees each. That's why I said I will give you some extract. Up to 10% I am allowed to give to each one of you. I'll give you some extract and start from there, and slowly then you convince your manager or employer to buy that. Okay. So you can start with 600 rupees. It's good to have your own copy and read that. Other one is you go to 27001security.com. You have to go to websites which are authentic and managed by people who are professional. No? Otherwise, there are millions of websites. You get bogus information. Sometimes in the name of security, you'll get a spam link. No, that also you have to be careful when you search on the net. This website in New Zealand is one of the safest and most informative. No, I have used that website for this thing, preparing the presentation. I'm sorry, I forgot to write that address. It's ISO 27001 security.com. That's the one. So lead auditor certificate cost, the course cost is about 25,000. Of course, you can bargain in India. You can get for even 15,000, or someone sold it for 9,500 last month. We all sent a message to him, no, not to spoil the market like that. It has a value. Okay. Leader course costs from about 20 to 25,000 per 27,001. Lead implementer also costs similar one. It is better to do a multiple one. If you do a multiple one like we do, for about 50,000, you can get certificate for 6 standards: 27,001, 20,001, 22301, ISO 9001, then 27701 privacy. Okay, 5 standard. You can get 5 lead order course for about 50,000 rupees. Of course, GST is always there. We have one Samir Khan. You can contact him. If you write to me, I'll connect you to him. So it is better to invest about 50,000 rupees and get certified for multiple standards as lead auditor, so that your CV improves and also you add value to your employer. Okay. Standard are more into checklist, the resources of practical experience. Both. Okay. It is a checklist. For example, it says confirm that the company has conducted a vulnerability assessment or penetration testing exercise. So how do you confirm without a background? You should have run a tool, or you should have been with a team. I was one of the first from Middle East to get certified by International Security System. Now it is a part of IBM on ethical hacking in London. Okay, but I don't do the normal ethical hacking. But you must have some background. You can't simply be a SMS auditor without practical experience. Somebody says, how is the password policy configured? So you should know there is a domain default security policy. Then you go there and check how it is configured on the system. You must have some practical experience. Okay, standard. So in fact, tomorrow I'm using a PhD in cloud security. Why am I doing that? He's only having 2 years experience. I am 30 years experience. But still, he's a specialist. So when a particular subject, you still take a help of another technical expert with you, and then go that. Okay. It is a checklist. You start with a checklist, but it's not the end. Checklist is not the end of the audit. You need practical experience. When you ask, it depends on the other person's answer. So you increase your depth of questions. So without practical experience, 4 years of IT experience with at least 4 years full-time IT with 2 years full-time in information security. That is the requirement to become an ISO 27000 lead auditor. Okay, probably I missed it. No, sorry about that. After doing the training, you must show 4 years of full-time IT experience with 2 years in information security. Okay. Any other question? Thank you so much, sir. You're really good at explaining. Thank you, Lokesh. Okay. Is there anyone who is an employer or a CISO here? Any question from a CISO about these various standards? I'll be happy to think. Sudhir Shanai, thank you, Sudhir. Okay. Any CISO, any question from the CISOs here? Or anyone who is a director or a manager? Way to buy this website is you please search for Bureau of Indian Standards. BIS Standards Online. That is a good search this thing criteria. Okay. Otherwise, you write to me, I'll send you the link. Okay. You can search Bureau of Indian Standards. Be proud, no, that Indian standard. I believe we are the best in the world. I'm an ex-assistant director of Mandyam. I was coached by BIS. We are one of the best in terms of standards. Okay. But it's also very cost effective. It's only 600 rupees. You can start there. 9,000, ISO 9000 is available 600 rupees. If you are buying from overseas, it is 6,000 rupees. 10 times that. They have announced on the website. Give an Indian address, pay from Indian rupees. Okay. Then you will get it for 600 rupees. 27,001 and 27,002. Both of them you get. Of course, 20,000 they did not release the latest version. It has to get local approval. Okay. Okay. Sudhir Shanai, thank you. Srikala, thank you for your feedback. Jaisal, how do we end the session?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, everyone.